This is Between Hook Sets. I'm Jason Walter from In Through the Outdoors with my partner in slime, Kurt Underhill from the Fishing Crew.
What is going on?
Oh, I don't know. It's that time of year again, you know, where we're running around trying to get ready to go to the Bassmasters. And actually, I feel like I should be talking like this for all the stuff we were listening to on the YouTube there from everybody down in Texas and everybody from Louisiana and Alabama and Tennessee that we're doing the whole Wednesday. What do they call that? The Tournament of Champions or whatever?
Night of Champions.
Night of Champions, yeah. So, you know, hey.
Yeah.
Yeehaw, right?
Well, and we are we had massive technical difficulties with cameras and all kinds of stuff. So we got it started right at not 7 o'clock and 00, but.
Well, I just about had to get my pocket knife out.
You better open the Jackhawk 9000.
You know what I'm saying to you?
You gonna carry that in Texas this weekend?
Yeah, right on. Well, yeah, I may have to be armed. I don't have any clue. So, alternate guest plan tonight, which actually I'm very excited about because we talked about Jeff last week, and we talked about wheelchairs and walleyes last week, and with everything going on, and we'll just say Ryan under the weather and sick and not being able to join us. I called Jeff real quick, and Jeff said, yep. So we'll bring Jeff in, and we're going to talk about wheelchairs and walleyes.
Before we bring him in, this is really weird looking at you across the studio.
Have you noticed I haven't been looking at you at all?
It is. I mean, we're so used to doing this from 3 hours apart, and tonight we're in the same room, and you can see my unfinished trim because we just got new floors put in, and then had a whole debacle. And so normally my house doesn't look like that. So, but my wife will love seeing the background. So,
of course.
But anyways, it's great to have you in my house, and we're going to bring Jeff in. Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
How's it going?
Good. Good to see you.
You know, there's only a few times I'm willing to be sloppy seconds, and I guess today was one of them, I guess, huh?
Every once in a while, somebody's got to be, right?
We'll tell you that. We were planning a full, let's bring Jeff in. You know, and we try to time stuff right and try to get that right time of year. And, you know, I guess, I don't know if there is a right or wrong time or a bad time for what you do with wheelchairs and walleyes, but it was one of those things like we were going to ad lib and go for it. And Jason's like, let's call Jeff. And I said, yes, let's do that. So sorry you were sloppy seconds, but
that's all right.
We got you here. And I think there's going to be a time coming up that you will not be sloppy seconds to talk about more stuff. So,
well, I appreciate it. I appreciate.
Let me. I'll just pop this up. I'm going to pop this up real quick because this is something that we popped up last week. Could wheelchairs and walleyes end up with a project in Pierre? Honestly, I think we're working on that and have some pretty good leads. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, we have
the guys. Kurt, sorry. Go ahead.
We had the guys on from Game Fish and Parks last night, and they talked about how they did one down in Chamberlain, which is a great deal, but it's just a metal ramp and nothing like what you provide. And I mean, nothing against that ramp. It is pretty awesome, but this is like here for eternity.
It's for real. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first off, just so you know, I did catch Kurt, what you said last week regarding the Lake Sakakawea, and I do have my designers that have a new logo that actually says Wheelchairs and Walleyes, South Dakota. So you'll be good there. I was going to have it for today, but it didn't work out. But believe it or not, Chamberlain, that was one of my inspirations when I saw a PBA tournament there. And that was one of my inspirations for actually even doing this whole project, was watching how they got some of the paralyzed veterans into the into the boats out there. And quite honestly, it was one of those things where when I looked at them doing this event, and they were taking paralyzed veterans, our heroes, the heroes of our country, and they're using lifting straps and telehandlers to get them into the boats. I I was just dumbfounded. And while I'm unbelievably appreciative that they gave him the opportunity, I just figured, here in America, we can do better. And that's really where it came about.
So let's go there. Tell us for people that are just tuning in or don't know or whatever, tell us about Wheelchairs and Walleyes, where it comes from and how it all works before we get into everything else, because I think we kind of put the cart before the horse there.
Yeah, not a problem. So Wheelchairs and Walleyes, really what it at its core, what it really is just a charitable organization that goes and tries to look at areas where there is little to no access for wheelchair users or people who are, even just unsteady or don't have the ability to get in and out of boats. And it started about a year and a half ago. My wife and I, we fish all over the country, kind of like you guys do. And, we have our big tournament that we run. And so we're kind of always in our bubble. But we were out one time at Flathead Lake in Montana. And I was just noticing that there was no access of any kind for anybody who uses a wheelchair, and so I just started kind of looking around and going, wait a minute, how do people, get in and out of boats that are in chairs or in walkers and if anybody's ever fished Flathead Lake, it's an unbelievably deep lake with an unbelievably steep ramp and the waves can get pretty big there. And it's just got me thinking. And so the more I looked around, the more lakes I went to, it was the common theme, which was there's just no access. And so then I started asking people, like, what do you do? What do you do when you have a family member that's in a wheelchair? And they're like, well, we get a couple friends, we throw them over our shoulder, we get in the boat, and it was just, I was just dumbfounded. And so really at that point, I just started kind of trying to look to see what lakes had anything. I looked at our own home lake, which is, Lake Skakawea, and realized, quite frankly, that there is more, and I'm not kidding when I say that there's more ADA accessibility in a local grocery store parking lot than there is at our largest reservoirs in the country. And I just decided at that moment that, we needed to do something about it. And, we don't have any wheelchair users in our family, but we just decided that that's what we needed to do. And so then that spurred the idea to start to give people access.
Which is
fantastic.
I mean, I don't even got words for how incredible that is. And now you got the picture up. Explain this whole setup to us and how you came up with this. I know we met you at the MPAA conference. We had a long conversation. I asked you, a bunch of questions, and you had all the answers for these questions because you didn't just put this together one night. This was years of planning.
Well, yes. And not only that, like that picture right there, quite honestly, is, I kind of joke, it's the most over-engineered human loading dock in the world. It is, that was a multitude of civil engineers, structural engineers, archaeologists, you name it. We had to get involved. But basically what that is it's an ADA compliant concrete ramp and everything on that ramp, the width, the height, you name it, the handrails, the size of the rails, everything is within ADA spec. But we had to have our engineers not only build the ramp itself, but then what we did is we sourced equipment to go on top of that ramp. So it's really kind of three parts. You have the ramp, and then you have, on top of that ramp, you have a chair lift that is made by an amazing company in Missoula, Montana, called Aqua Creek. And what that is designed is that's designed to take people to be able to lift them out of their chair and literally set them into the chair of the boat. And then next to that is a wheelchair platform lift. And this is kind of an important one because this is really where there's nowhere anywhere that has it. Basically, we work with a company called Adaptive Engineering out of Calgary, Alberta. And what that does is it allows the wheelchair user to wheel into the actual the lift, and then that lift is able to lift up to another 5 feet, and it's been designed such that there's a bridge and a drop down platform that will go right into the doorway of a pontoon. So somebody who is maybe a wheelchair user, or maybe they just have a broken leg, they're in a walker, they can literally go on their own power and their own, in their own chair directly onto a pontoon with their own equipment. And so that really was the big thing, because it opened the door for pretty much anyone on any type of vessel.
So the one thing you said, the word adaptive, and when you and I had a conversation at the NPAA, you were talking about the fact that it got a little more complicated because we use the term handicap all the time, right? And yes. you were using what I guess would be the politically correct terminology, but you learned a valuable lesson by doing this project and using the right words and phrasing it to fit people.
Yeah, when I originally did our press release, and I posted, I did this press release and I said, disabled children, handicapped children. And I'll be honest with you, I had a couple parents that they were not very pleased with that word, and they came unglued at me. And I finally kind of, pushed back and said, wait a minute, quit looking at the word and look what we're doing. Actually focus on our effort. Teach us what we're doing wrong, right? Teach us if we're doing something, we're not saying something right, let us know. But it was difficult, and it was a tough lesson, because you're right. The word handicap, is in many respects is a negative word to people who use wheelchairs. That's why we call them wheelchair users or adaptive needs. And it's really you can kind of get into the whole labeling thing, but the reality is that with some of these children that I met, some of these children, they have no use of any of their limbs, but quite honestly, they're a whole heck of a lot happier and more mobile than we are. And so I don't see the handicap in that. And so we really made a focused effort to make sure that we don't not only just label them, but that, it's just they're having to conform again to something that the able-bodied world is kind of imposing upon them. So we just decided, we're going to eliminate it and just stick with what makes them feel good, which is, adaptive needs.
Yeah, which is great, because I think through the lessons you've learned, you've helped us learn too, and we all need to learn, because what is normal these days, right? You can be a normal person with adaptive needs. So all of us are normal. We just have different needs.
And the big thing when it comes to the term handicap, and the hard part is quite honestly, if you look at, you have handicap placards, handicap parking, all of it. So it's really hard to differentiate. And that's really why I pushed back and said, wait a minute, let's look at our intent here. Let's not look at the word. And we have a lot of families that have been just unbelievably gracious in helping us navigate this. But on that same token, we really want to be able to make sure that we're the whole purpose of this is giving them independence, giving them something that makes them not feel like a burden to everybody else. And so by adding another label or another word, it just, it's a scarlet letter, and I just don't, we can see how that needs to go away.
Yeah, I wouldn't have realized it, really. Honestly, I would have just thought that handicapped or disabled was the acceptable and proper word to use. And it's nice to know that it isn't.
I have learned that I believe that the disabled or something like intellectually disabled, or the intellectual disability, or a ambulatory disability. That's that's more accepted than the term handicap, and maybe that's just me, but because it's definitely something that appears that's more.
Hey, Jeff. I think we're losing you in a connection here. I'm gonna pop. Oh, yep. See, we lost him. I kind of figured that's what was going on, but I mean, what a great cause. Hopefully, he pops back in here. I mean, just a great, incredible thing. They do a lot of funding. We got a comment from Johnny here, our good buddy Johnny Candle.
Hi, Johnny.
I'm so excited for the Devil's Lake one. I was the last person to take in Myrtle Beach fishing. Had the project named after him. Yeah, Miss Susie Kenner's dad. So yeah, it's going to be an awesome project up there in Devil's Lake. And I've talked to Susie Kenner about it, and she's pretty excited for it. And they've got, I think they're ready to.
They're having things delivered, or
yeah.
They have had some stuff delivered.
All right, I think we got you back, Jeff. We were chopping out there, so
sorry about that.
Nope,
it's all right. It happens.
The life of technologies. Yes, we can hear you now.
You're freezing.
Yeah, we got some.
Yeah, I think Jeff, you froze up again for us anyway. So when we get Jeff back, we'll go right to the Johnny Candle. So pop up the Johnny Candle comment again so Jeff can see it, and then he can talk about Devil's Lake.
Can you hear us, Jeff? Are you back? You good? I don't think he's back.
Yep, I don't think so either. I think he's probably sending me a text.
No, he's back for a minute.
I'm going to try to jump on my my cell phone to see if that works better.
There you go. We already got a guy that said
wait a minute here. Crappie
T says after he wins the NWT Derby, I will donate $5,000 of his winnings.
Yes,
hey,
Tom Goodmestead.
That is an incredible. You heard it here. We got a donation. I don't know if Jeff can hear us, but when he comes back, we'll pop that back up. So
that is fantastic. I'm sorry, I got a frog all of a sudden too, and I can't seem to get rid of it. So,
Jeff, are you there? Can you
I am. I'm actually jumping on my. Can you see me now?
Yep, we got you. Can you hear us and see us?
So I'm on my cell phone. So
that's fine. That's okay.
So we got a couple comments while we were having the technical difficulties. Johnny Candle, go ahead and read that to him, Jason.
All right. So Johnny said, "I'm so excited for this in Devil's Lake. I was the last person to take Merle fishing. Having the project named after him or for him is incredible. I will not miss the dedication event. Keep up the great work."
That's awesome.
And then Crappie T says, after he wins the NWT Derby on Sharp, he will donate $5,000 of his winnings to the program.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
Awesome.
Huge.
Yeah, Tom, thank you. That's cool.
And we're already getting our tourism people tagged on a post here, so that's pretty awesome. We'll be working with the Pierre Chamber to get, hopefully we can start with one and end up with 2 or 3. Our community is huge in the support of this stuff. I mean, we just funded a indoor fish cleaning station off donations. So we're going to try to have to get this done because I think this is great. And so how many do you have out there right now?
So currently right now we have the one in Beulah Bay that we just that we finished in July. We're working on the one in Devil's Lake. Devil's Lake that's going to be a pretty amazing one. I'll tell you what, that community, man, they are behind it. So Devil's Lake will be on June 8th is when we're doing the dedication there. And then we have June 21st. We have one in Hazen Bay on Lake Sakakawea that we're going to be doing unveiling. Couple things we haven't made it kind of announced it at all. I guess maybe I'll make it official now. So the company that we have been working with, a company called Superior Walls of North Dakota, and Verity Homes. Superior Walls is a large precast concrete company that's based out of Bismarck. So they contacted us, and we're going to be building one and donating it to the Bismarck Mandan area on the river. Moritz Sport and Marine is going to be helping us with that one. But that's going to be a big one because obviously that's in our state capital. And so that one will be next year. We got to find a place for it. We've already decided that we're going to do it, and the company wants to donate it. And we just need to, find a spot. So Mandan, Bismarck, if you're listening, well, let us know. We want to put one there.
You'll find a place.
Lake Minnetonka in Hennepin County. We've been working with them. They're building their new North Arm, $3.5 million project, and they've reached out to us, and we'll be building one for them right at the ramp. That we'll be building that over the winter and debuting that in the spring of 26. And then ultimately we've got, hopefully we'll have, Lake Wahi, in Pierre and Fort Peck, we're trying to get those. But to give you an idea just how behind this project our contractors are, Verity Homes and Superior Walls, they're to the point where they're like, hey, if the community leaders say no, we're just going to go build it and put it on their property and leave a note. This is from Batman.
Ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, that's kind of that. So we've got quite going.
Okay, so you kind of talked about the ramp, but explain the whole project. Like, what does it take if we're to say we want this in Pierre? Let's start it now. What does it take to get it done, dollar-wise and project-wise?
So dollar-wise, it's kind of difficult, just because of the companies that are behind it. But all in, we're at about $115,000 per project, and it's important to say that it's $115,000, but none of that comes from tax dollars. That is grassroots mom and pop dealers and family members donating the money. But basically because we have it already engineered, the structure itself, like I said, we find a spot, then we have to find a surveyor who will do all the topographical surveys for us. Then we have to have all the civil engineering that goes along with it. The reservoirs are difficult because they're Army Corps of Engineers. But as both of you guys know who work with the Army Corps of Engineers in your tournament stuff, the last project that we did, the Army Corps of Engineers actually approved from beginning to end. From the time that we submitted the permit to the time that they approved it was 14 calendar days.
Whoa.
If anybody who knows it takes longer than that just to get a return email, let alone someone build a structure on Corps land. But that's how important it is to them as well. And then we have an enormous amount of volunteers that get together, and we have to go through the building of the structure, sourcing all the products. A lot of times we try to use the businesses in the community. So for instance, if we have a steel supplier that, they want to donate the steel, we have a fabricator who wants to make the handrails, everything that we do when it comes to the projects and the fundraising, every dollar that we raise goes to the project. We don't take money from the fundraising. So if mom and pop donate $100, $100 goes to that project. And so once we build it and we get everything together and we're ready to go, what we do then is we do a dedication ceremony. One of them, kind of the crown jewels of it, is when we do the dedication ceremony that morning, we hold a charity tournament for kids. And what we do is we take up to 15 kids, that are have mobility challenges, or they're in a wheelchair, and we have 15 pro staff walleye anglers. And we're not talking about just the regular little guys. I mean, we're talking about heck, even Tom Wynn showed up to our Beulah Bay one. But we have predominantly Ranger pro staff walleye anglers. We get them in the boats with with the pro staff. They go out, they take them out fishing for a couple of hours. We bring them back. We do the whole thing. We do the weigh-in. We get them up on stage. We have a ramp that gets them up onto the stage. We give them trophies. We literally have start to finish a professional tournament, walleye tournament, for these kids. Give them trophies, give them their own tournament shirts, and really just kind of make a day out of it. And then while that's going on, we take the entire day, and we do what's called the Children's Mobility Awareness Day Festival. And what that is at the venue that at the ramp that we're at, we take the entire day, and everything, every game, everything, every food, every toy, everything is dedicated to children, young adults, paralyzed veterans that are in a wheelchair. And basically what we do is we celebrate them. We make it one day where they don't have to adapt to our world. We adapt to theirs. It's entirely free for the community. We mandate that any vendor, if they're going to have something there, it's free. If the Shriners come out and they give out thousands of cups of slushies, and we do it to where these kids can have as much sweets, as many games, as many toys, whatever they want, for free for the entire day. It's a blast. And I can tell you that the anglers, the professional walleye anglers and the volunteers, they're literally moved to tears. It is, it's just as special for them as it is for the kids. It's just simply an amazing day.
I can see that, working with the Children's Miracle Network for many, many years. And it doesn't matter how many years it was, but it was long enough for me to learn a lot of lessons. My son was born early, and we had the opportunity to get the assistance from Children's Miracle Network, and we turned it down until we couldn't, because it was there. But the interesting thing that I learned from doing a lot of the radiothons and going to the media event down in Orlando, Florida at Disney World, is these families who are fighting or stricken or have been dealt a bad hand, whatever terminology you want to use, they don't ever, and I'm curious to see if you agree with me, they never say why him, why her, why us. They endeavor to persevere, and they push forward and live life. And it blows my mind that these people don't say, because I think I would instantly say, why me?
Well, I agree with you. But I also have found that I think a lot of families suffer in silence. And I'll tell you a story. We had a child that came off a boat with the mother, and she was she's like, I'm so sorry. I need to change my child. My child wears a diaper, and I think he soiled himself. She's like, I feel so bad. What can I do? And one of our volunteers, Miss Danette Huber, who is just, a godsend to our organization, she's like, no problem. She's right over by, we had the ADA, the wheelchair bathrooms, the wheelchair accessible bathrooms. But what we also had was a changing room. We took an ice house and we converted it to a changing room so that they could change their child, their undergarments in privacy. It was so, the mother was so overwhelmed. She says it was the first time she had ever been to an event where someone actually thought of that. Now, I can't take credit for it because I had no idea. But when we had our committee meeting, one of our medical professionals said, this is critically important. But so you question, what do they do when they don't have that? This child as a teenager, how many times have they been out? How many times have they soiled themselves? How many times have they had to suffer in silence and just try to figure it out? So that moment when she realized that we thought of even the changing room was just mind-boggling for her. And so that's why we try to think of everything, because they don't want to speak up. They don't want to complain. They don't, it's like you said, they're not going to complain, but they do suffer in silence.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never gave that a moment's thought.
So I know I talked to Susie Kenner about the Devil's Lake project, and she was telling me that they are taking this ramp and maybe retrofitting or already have ADA bathroom with changing state table, adult changing stations, and all that stuff right in that facility. So maybe are they taking it a step further? I feel like they're taking it a step further from just putting a ramp in.
So yes, and that's why I said Devil's Lake has really been amazing. We have been working with them. Obviously, Susie, she is an unbelievable woman. But one of the council members, one of the commissioners on the council, Mr. Jeff Frith, he is actually a wheelchair user, been his whole life. And so what we did is we worked with them, and we have taken our ramp and we have incorporated from the ramp. There's going to be concrete wheelchair parking ADA parking that's right there. We actually have a walkway, a 60 or 70 foot long walkway that goes all the way to the bathrooms. That's all, it's all set up, ADA spec, specific concrete walkway. We are, we're going to be working with them and retrofitting all the bathrooms, making them those adult changing tables. Goodness gracious, those things are almost $10,000 a piece. So what we have done is we have kind of just taken the project and really tried to turn that entire area into an adaptive needs park. And they have just been a blessing to work with. When we're all said and done, I am confident in saying that, quite frankly, Devil's Lake will hands down be the most inclusive when it comes to outdoor recreation, probably anywhere in the country. I mean, that is how far they're taking this, or how serious they're taking this. It's really mind-boggling.
Yeah, that's awesome. Where is this again, just so everybody knows?
In Lakewood Park, at Devil's Lake. It's right next to there's a Bible camp that's right there. Right
across from Woodlands.
Yep.
It is. But it's, a perfect location. We tried to find something a little off of the beaten path, so that people could really have take the time. But they are really, and they spent over $400,000 just building fishing piers, ADA compliant wheelchair user fishing piers. They are, they're no joke out there at Devil's Lake. They're really doing an amazing job.
Yeah, that's cool.
So when you were talking about dollars raised and what it takes, so what do you ship in and what does need to be done locally?
So what we ship in is the concrete structure itself. Superior Walls, they build the precast structure in Bismarck, and then we freight it in on semis. And obviously the equipment itself, the chair lift and the wheelchair platform lift. Everything else is sourced locally. We really believe that when it comes to these types of projects, the community should have ownership. And so it's one thing to go to your state government and, get a big fat check. It's something else when a family member like Susie, whose father was instrumental, even in this project, they say, we want to be part of it. We want to be owners of it. And that's really kind of what we focus on, is the grassroots, community input from it.
That's fantastic. I'm truly amazed and inspired.
So I'm guessing it's incredible that all the stuff that goes into this. So I'm guessing there's concrete on the ground that the structure needs to sit on, and you need that locally, local dirt work, concrete leading up to it. But the structure itself shows up. You got to build some handrails locally, sounds like. So, I mean, you got it down. I'm sure you give a fabricator the specs and say, here's what we need built.
Yes. So really, when we look at an individual community, we need an excavation company to do the excavation dirt work. We need the engineers and surveyors, engineering company and surveyor to do all that. We need a fabrication company for the handrails. We need a steel supplier for the steel for the handrails. And general construction. Everything else, when it comes to Superior Walls, they actually bring their crew out and they do it. They install and put the structure together themselves. But all of the main work, the labor work around the project itself is sourced locally, as well as the equipment. And then on top of that, like for instance, Devil's Lake, when we do the children's tournaments, we have Ace Hardware out there is donating all of the rods and reels and the tackle boxes for the kids. Then we'll have, Runnings. Runnings is going to donate a bunch of the water and stuff like that. You have Sanford Hospital. They're going to be donating the goodie bags. And so, every part of it is, we touch, multiple different industries within the community to help.
That's awesome. And so one of your goals is to have at least one in every state, right?
Yes. I mean, at least, our goal, quite honestly, is to be such a force within this industry that our government finally steps up and says, you know what, we're going to mandate something like this at every public ramp, entry, lake entry point from here going forward. That's really what we're trying to do. While this is great to have, quite frankly, we shouldn't be having to do it. So this should have already been something that's already been done. So really, this is going to be one of those things where eventually it takes hold enough to where it's just going to become the norm when building these lake entry points.
I hope so. I think it's fantastic. I just really didn't realize the need until you see the people and the joy in the faces. You look at the pictures and realize that there are people out there that want to be a part of the outdoor world who absolutely cannot, and you're giving them that. Or you're making it easier. I guess maybe they could still do it, but it's for some families, it's impossible. Now for all families, it's possible, right?
Exactly. Well, Jason, when we were at the NPAA conference, I had gotten a message from a gentleman by the name of Chuck Nelson out of Wisconsin. And I may have shared that message with you, but the message from him was he had saw our stuff, and his wife had been his fishing partner for years. And 3 to 4 years earlier, she had an injury, and it resulted in her having to be in a wheelchair full time. And he said that he has not fished with her since. She fished with her every day. That was her partner. And all of a sudden, 3.5 years ago, he's never been able to fish with her again. And so he was basically desperate. Like, what is it? How can we get this to Wisconsin? And I said, well, I'll find a way. I'll get something to Wisconsin. But in the meantime, I said, what I want you to do is we're gonna pay to get you out to Devil's Lake, and we're gonna get you and your wife in the boat, and you're gonna be a grand marshal in the when we get the kids out there, and you're gonna be able to spend the rest of the day fishing with your wife. Awesome. Whatever we need to do to be able to make that happen, we're gonna do it.
That's awesome.
And so there are people that, quite frankly, have stopped fishing, stopped boating altogether, and this gives them the ability to actually to do it, moving forward.
No doubt. Can you get a big amen? That's pretty cool.
I know you already said all the money raised, but you do this voluntarily yourself too.
Correct.
I mean, so it's not like you're funded by some other source. like you blew my mind at the NPAA when you're like, I do it because it's right.
Correct.
I've got a very good friend that they donate a ton of money, and they always say, we don't want recognition. We don't do it for the recognition. We do it because it's the right thing.
That's really it. I mean, we look at this as one of those things where it's just the right thing to do. There's just no other way around it. I don't draw a check from this. I don't make money on it. I don't, I write more checks than personally than anything, but this is nothing more than just pure volunteerism. That's all it is, for my entire family. Quite honestly, when if you ever get the honor of being able to see the children's face, there is no, I'd tell you, you'll be hooked for life. I said my other tournament could burn to the ground for all I care. I don't care. This is just quite honestly the most moving thing I've ever done in my entire life, and I'll the day I die.
It's fantastic. Like I said, I've experienced it with the Children's Miracle Network. A little bit different thing, but you've got some kids that are handicapped or adaptive or disabled, and you've got other kids with cancer and different things. But when they're given things that they really want, they're given a miracle, something of that nature, the light in their eyes, eyes don't lie, right?
I tell you, we had a dad came from Nebraska, and one of the things that he had he asked was he's like, my daughter, her sisters are her security blanket. She won't go anywhere without her sisters, and she won't go on the boat without her sisters. And so I called a good friend of ours, Dustin Melby, over at Moritz Sport and Marine, who is one of our corporate helpers, if you will. They're amazing. But I called Dustin. I said, hey, Dustin, I got a dad, a girl, and the rest of their family wants to get on this boat. Can they do it? And he says, absolutely. We'll figure out a way. We don't. And I'll tell you what, you see a picture of those kids, and you got all the sisters around her, and they're holding up their fish, and it's just the family affair. But that dad was same thing, moved to tears. Like, I finally get to actually fish with all of my girls on a boat. And it was just unbelievably moving experience.
Yeah, it's amazing. I pray every morning that love will beat evil, and here's love firsthand. I love it.
So we got a couple comments that I want to get to before we keep going here. So
from Ripping Lips Adventures, hello gentlemen, coming late to the chat, so maybe missed it, but have you connected with Prairie Grit Outdoors in Minot, North Dakota too?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they were one of the first people that we reached out to because we were trying to figure out how to have this tournament, and what do we do and how do we do it? And Prairie Grit, we reached out to them, and they gave us quite a bit of assistance on the medical side of the of the children's tournament. This isn't just a thing where you get a bunch of kids together. I mean, you have to know what their temperament is, how many people that they need assistance. Do they have any sensitivities to light or sounds or whatnot? And so they really helped us draft the questionnaire, if you will. But they're a great organization and helped us out quite a bit.
Fantastic. Randy, thanks for asking the question. And then from Zach here, there is great adaptive event in the Black Hills called Ski for Light. It's one of the best, most fulfilling events all year. Zach, thank you.
And Zach runs, he's the bar manager at Terry Peak out there. Skiing. So that's where that event takes place at. So.
Well, I tell you, we met that kid, gentleman, Austin, I can't remember his last name, Austin Bass. He has one of the dreadlocks from Colorado.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They do some adaptive skiing out there, and I think he's from Winter Park. And we found that there are other sports, if you will, that have this type of a function. Why fishing doesn't have it, I don't know, and that's what we aim to change.
And speaking of that, our South Dakota Game Fish and Parks, I don't know if you've ever been to Pierre, but down below the dam, we have the Wahi Downstream Campground 1, 2, and 3. And they shut that down during deer season, and they have a wheelchair deer hunt down there.
Oh, wow.
And they only allow tags for wheelchair people, the wheelchair guys to go out there. They have blinds they put out that the wheelchairs can all go into, and they do it all. And it's an event for the wheelchair hunting, for deer hunting. So it's a pretty awesome, cool deal that they do. So, this just goes right hand in hand with that. And, it's, my wheels are spinning. I don't want to say this and be held to it, but I got a feeling I could probably fund this pretty dang quick.
Well, and you said it live on Facebook, so it's there, it's forever. Yep. But no, here's the one thing I learned, Kurt, recently, last few months, is this doesn't have to be sold. Really, quite honestly, it's just explaining to people, and they go, "Whoa, my gosh! So you mean this isn't already done?" And when it's not done, people are so moved that they really want to help out. So that's amazing. That would be phenomenal. And I've actually camped at that downstream. I fished Hawaii. I do terrible at walleye fishing there for whatever reason. I'm one heck of a bass fisherman on Hawaii. And I found the sandbar that's over by the dam in the middle of the lake. I found that sandbar myself. My warrior was a lighthouse for a little while I was trying to figure out how to get myself off of it.
You were down on Sharp then. You were down below the dam.
Down below.
So this was on the lake side.
You were on a low water year, so you found the big point that came out. Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, and it literally goes. The back of the boat you're at 50, and the front of the boat you're on the rocks.
My favorite's taking new people on this lake, and we'll be out boating around or whatever, and they'll look at your graph and go, that really don't fish, and they'll be like, are we really in 100 and some foot of water? And I'm like, yeah, and 10 feet that way, sure. There's no way.
Oh
yes, there is.
I learned that myself. Like I said, I was the one idiot who was sitting stationary in the middle of the lake trying to figure out how to get myself off.
So, you got to laugh a little bit too. I've been wanting to bring this up, and now that we're laughing a little, have you noticed how the water in the background moves every once in a while?
That's just you swaying.
What in the background, if you look to the right or left of you, I swear every once in a while that water's just kind of, it's a nice calm day, but it's moving a little bit. It's freaking me out.
Hey, Kurt, maybe you should see what's in the coffee cup.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that. He will not be driving on the first leg of the trip if he thinks we're already on a boat.
Oh, look at that. That plan A.
Maybe that was his plan. That he doesn't have to drive on the 14-hour tour we're gonna take off here in a little bit for. But I will say this: you're not the only idiot to be on that sandbar. So you might have been that day. But there's plenty of them that have been on the sandbar, and we'll go down below, and we could probably start a whole night chat of everybody's stories and go for 2 days of being on a sandbar. Last year or 2 years ago in the MWC, one guy said, I didn't know they had a tow rope that long, because he was so stuck that they pulled out a tow rope, and he goes, I didn't even know it was that long. Mm-hmm. We got another comment here, so I'll let Jason read
from Jody. My grandson is in a wheelchair. I'd love to take him on our boat. He's too big now and too handicapped to get on the boat. This is a wonderful program, so thankful for you. Maybe someday in Pierre, Jody. Maybe someday in Pierre, sooner than you think, maybe.
Yeah, we're going to get working on this, because this is a project we need to bring ASAP. And it's something that, maybe ignorantly on our parts, we overlook. Maybe
just a little, not ignorantly, maybe a little naive, maybe taking it for granted. Sorry, I have to do this. I learned this from John Hoyer.
I think that, I had a guy reach out to me last year, when he was runs a large outdoor organization, and he calls me. He says, he goes, Jeff, he goes, I feel like an idiot. He says, I have fished this bay thousands of times in my life. And he's like, and I have never once ever thought about what happens when you have somebody that's in a wheelchair. He's like, he goes, hey, I feel like an idiot. He goes, I don't know if it's ignorance or just, oblivious. He says, but I feel like an idiot. And that's really it. It's, I think we get caught up in we get out there in our own bubble, in our own life. And that's just the way it is. But then you take someone like the Eckroths. I don't know if you guys never got a chance to, or maybe you guys did get a chance to Jamie Eckroth and Kristen Eckroth and Aubrey and Kira. Aubrey Eckroth is a in a wheelchair, and I'll tell you what, that girl could probably outfish all three of us. I mean,
I wouldn't.
That don't take much.
Yeah, right. But still, I wouldn't doubt
but yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Also mention that you paid to bring them out to feature them at the NPAA. That was a trip that you invited them and you paid for the whole thing.
I did. And that was just because I wanted them to really kind of, I think I wanted them to be there, because the key is quite honestly is to show people where we're missing out, where we're lacking in this. And funny thing is when we went there, I called the hotel and I made sure that it was an ADA compliant bathroom or a ADA room. But then of course they go there and they're saying, oh yeah, this is an ADA compliant bathroom, and it's it's got a single handrail, going into this monster bathtub. And and the problem is they said, well, that's not ADA. I mean, yeah, it may have a handrail, but she's a wheelchair user. She needs a roll-in shower. Oh, well, we don't have those. And so, but people need to realize that ADA regulations are minimum regulations, minimum standards. And so, but even going there as a wheelchair user, she still had to navigate that. So, I'm excited. I'd love to get one in Pierre on Hawaii, because like I had mentioned to you guys, and I had thought of you guys immediately when I decided that I wanted to do it, was because while this is, while we have, a large youth population that needs this, you got to realize that 20.2%, so 20% of adults from the age of 18 to 64 years old, adult, male and female, have a registered ambulatory disability. 20% of our country has an ambulatory disability. 8% of 18 to 34-year-olds. Well, that is right in the middle, smack in the middle of the recreational fishing age, and so what I want to do is I really want to get this going in Pierre and in Fort Peck, because I want to start. I want to start a paralyzed. I just knocked something down now. I want to start a paralyzed veterans fishing tournament.
I love it.
3 lake series. Whether they start in Oahe or they hit Fort Peck and then they hit Sakakawea and they do Oahe. But I would love more than anything to get a paralyzed veterans series to where it's not just one day, one lake. It's an actual, multi-lake series. And I think that we can do that if we get these structures at the right place.
So I think Pierre is the next thing. We are going to push hard for this. We're going to get with you, Jeff, after the show. I'm sure you'll take every phone call that comes through from the show, but don't hesitate to reach out to me and Jason, and we can be liaison between Jeff, because we definitely want to be part of this. But the one thing that the most heartwarming thing about this community is when it's a good cause, they're not scared to get behind it. And not trying to hijack the show tonight, but in 2021, we met a gentleman named Trent Dirks, and he was working for an organization called Retrieving Freedom. And he rolled into our Delta Waterfowl banquet. He was selling a duck call and raising money for Retrieving Freedom. Half the proceeds went to Delta, half the proceeds go to Retrieving Freedom. I met him on Friday night. We became instant best friends. Still to this day, talk weekly. sometimes daily. But he rolled in the event, and I said, "What's your record for that duck call, the Delta event?" And he goes, $6,500. And he goes, "But it was bought 3 times and donated back." And I said, "We'll beat it tomorrow night." And he's like, "Yeah, right. Your town's 13,000 people." I said, "We'll beat it tomorrow night." So we get to the next night of the auction. Auction goes off. Donated back. We set the record at $13,000 for that call. He leaves our event, goes later in the year. Our event's in January. He goes to Bismarck in August. They beat us and they sell it for $33,000.
Wow.
He goes to Monroe, Louisiana. They beat it. They sell it for $46,000. They come back to Pierre that year. Our auctioneer gets on the stage and goes, "I'm not very happy, boys, because we didn't get beat once, but we got beat twice. But I got one thing to tell Monroe, Louisiana, or in Louisiana: hold my beer, because here comes Pierre."
Oh.
And when we were said and done, a gentleman, the first time the hammer dropped on that call was $11,000, and the guy goes, "Donate it back." Wow. The gentleman sitting right next to him stands up and goes, "I'll match 100% of what that call sells for in here tonight."
Oh, wow.
With the match and everything was $110,000.
Oh my goodness.
Amazing.
And
Real.
I don't know the updated numbers, but from January of 2021, between Delta Waterfall, our fishing tournament events, because I made custom fishing rods for them and auctioned them off. And the one year, the first one sold for $2,500, then $2,500, and then $4,500, then $5,000, then $11,000 for fishing rods.
Wow.
And we donated that, and all the money went back to them. But up until I think it was in the beginning of 2024, from 21 to January 21 to January 24, we raised over $1 million out of this community for that organization.
Oh,
and it's still going to this day. We're still racking up big dollars for that organization. And we got people in this community that will step up behind something like this in no problem at all.
That, I mean, a million, it's incomprehensible for me, because quite frankly, $1 million, in something like this would literally change the landscape of the entire upper Midwest for lakes. I mean, you would have, I can't even begin to describe what that would do for the community or for just recreation in general. I'd love to hope that it was achievable. I mean, obviously, we've raised a couple $100,000 recently, on some of these projects, but $1 million, I don't even know I could do that in my wildest dreams.
Yeah, that's something. Here's one from Sean Graham's. Awesome. Met Jeff last year at his tournament. Got to check out the wheelchair ramp. Very impressive, and everything you were doing. And also tournament setup. The turnout you had was impressive to see and witness. And I was there for the National Walleye Tour for the following week. Great work, Jeff.
We got a couple we got to blow through here.
From Tom Wynn, this definitely is something to witness in action. It was definitely an experience that I will never forget. From Tom Wynn. Tom, thank you. And another one from Jody. You brought awareness to this. I don't think anyone really knows until it's in your life, which, Jody, I agree with you. We take my 88-year-old dad, and it's getting difficult to get him out of the boat. You guys are doing awesome things. So, Jeff, people are buying. And here, let's go back to the beginning of the show, too, where Crappie T, Tom Goodmestead from Idaho, who is coming to North Dakota and South Dakota to fish tournaments, he said that if he wins, or when he wins, there it is right there. After I win the National Walleye Tour Derby on Sharp, I'll donate $5,000 of my win to the program. And that's a guy from Idaho, for Pete's sake. Tom, thank you.
Well, and that's, just when Tom Wynn had posted that, I mean, that he donated some of his winnings.
That's right.
When he was there, he was so moved. He donated a couple $1,000s of his winnings. That literally the day that he had witnessed it for the first time. So, and that's kind of what we've had, and that's amazing, because people like that, not only it's not just the winnings that is nice, but it is the fact that it brings awareness. It really kind of brings people forward to say, "Hey, oh, gosh, I want to be part of this too." So I appreciate everything those guys said.
That's awesome.
This doesn't mean a hill of beans to me, but This is a 501c3 organization, correct?
Correct.
I don't think it's going to stop anybody from donating, but that definitely helps big businesses and big companies to help with that as being a 501c3.
Correct. We are a public 501c3. Correct.
And I would love to see how many 501c3s do not have a payroll.
Yeah, right. Isn't that the truth?
I can tell you one that I know for sure doesn't have payroll. That's all I know of. Yeah. It'd be nice, but like maybe if we got $1 million donation, I could get I could get some of my money back. But no, this is all volunteer. It's just trying to be good humans. That's all it is.
Yeah, and you are one of those good humans, and your wife too, Jennifer. Right? I've not had a chance to meet her yet. I think we saw her in the background before we started the show. So a big thank you to both of you.
Yeah, no, she is. She's really the driving force behind it. Plus, she's the attorney of the family, so she makes sure that I don't screw up too much. Yeah, she is definitely the driving force behind it.
Fantastic. Well, see, we're at an hour mark, so I don't think we could top it. I think it's been a great conversation tonight. I want to thank you for playing second fiddle. Appreciate you coming in with Ryan being sick and all. Honestly, it was perfect, really, because we talked about it last week. We really got to follow up with it this week and got the details and got the nitty gritty. And we have people interested in helping. And I think the project is going to go quicker because you are on tonight. So thank you.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate all you guys do. I listen to you weekly, and I met you guys there in Wisconsin, and I'll be leaning on you guys to bring this to Pierre, South Dakota.
Fantastic.
Well, we hope to blow your socks off with the projects. That's the end goal here. So
I hope so.
You're going up against Susie Kenner at Devil's Lake.
That's not a hill. That's a mountain to climb because she's a beast.
But it's inspiration too, no doubt, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Jody, thank you, and Tom Goodmestead, thank you. Tom Wynn, see you in 15 hours or 16 hours, whatever it happens to be, down there in Fort Worth. We're taking off here in a bit. Ripping Lips Adventures Fishing is for creating memories with family and friends. This sort of thing would be perfect for getting elderly in the boat too, no doubt. Thanks for providing ramps, Jeff. Awesome.
Well, thank you, buddy. And we have 14 and a half hours to get going right now. So
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. You have a safe day.
Take care.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you so much.